Good morning, everybody. Keith here. I wanted to talk to everybody again about this birth certificate fraud. And basically what it is, when anybody's born, the mother makes a statement. That statement is the name of the child being born. That statement is a word. It's a spoken word. That spoken word is written down on a certificate of live birth. Both of these, statements of live birth and certificate of live birth, is the upper and lower case sense of the name, no matter what language you're in. Here in America, it's called Common English. That name is then unlawfully conveyed as property. This is why Carl Lentz talks about your children being your property. They're your heirs, not property, they're heirs. Property is something that cannot communicate. It has to accept the fact, the truth, that it is property, because it cannot communicate. It cannot rebut it. As a living man, you can rebut anything you want. And what we're getting down to is that name. The name is a will. Remember, I tell people all the time, my word is my bond. That's my bond. When I named my children, I spoke words. Those were my bonds. My children are my bonds. They are what bonds me to any kind of heirs. That name is what bonds them to me. That's the bond. The certificate of live birth is the document produced at the hospital based upon the statement of live birth. From that certificate of live birth, the birth certificate is produced by the state through the Social Security Association and the IMF. And that's what all the account numbers are. That's property. And that all caps name is a fictitious estate that they are saying belongs to you. They are bonding. That's why it's a bond. They're bonding it to you. But I want everybody to understand the one thing that's missing, the one true thing that's missing is the will of the Father, the true holder in due course of the heir. That's how it's all fraud, period. You have two co-creators, and I've mentioned this many times, two co-creators. And if you have co-creators in an automobile industry that are creating the same automobile, they both get the benefits and are both held liable for anything that happens in regards to that automobile. Say there's a malfunction in the brake system. Both co-creators are held responsible on the recalls. And this is what's happening with the birth certificate, though, is that the child is being held responsible. And child that needs to learn to make the state aware of that error and hold them responsible. That birth certificate is not yours. Who created that birth certificate? Did your mom? No. Did she know it was being created? No. Her thing was the statement of live birth, which she did not have permission or agreement with the Father to do such a thing. And even if she did have permission and agreement with the Father, that shows that both of them were deceived through the certificate of live birth and the birth certificate. So please, people, educate yourself. There's a situation with Bruce Doucette. he can't stand up in court with his father beside him to claim him as an heir. So he has to question everybody. Everybody. Who says they are my Father in heaven? His father has passed on now, so he can't present himself in court and say, this is my son. He is my heir. Who else is claiming him to be their property? So now he has to go into court and, in my opinion anyway, stick to one statement. And that is, who is claiming to be my Father in heaven? Who claims that I am theirs and has authority over me? And this is what we need to understand. The certificate of live birth and statement of live birth has the upper and lowercase spelling. And then the state takes that and unlawfully conveys it to a piece of property with all caps name. And when it comes to the name is the will of those who have a calling of from whence they came. As I explained in one of my previous posts, I'm adopted. And so my name now is Keith Orland Conrady-Little. The Little family name comes from a place, a little river. And there are many people in that valley of this little river, and they spelled their names differently. Lytle, Little, Littel, to denote the different clans within that same valley. It was their will. That name is their will. Your child's last name is your will. The name on the birth certificate is a bond. And it's all fraud. I hope you people understand this stuff. Because if you don't, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to go into these courts, these admiralty courts, and get locked up because you have an admiral. What's an admiral? It's a military term. It's a warring term. I'm a man of peace. My court is the kingdom of heaven. Who else shall be my will other than me? Unless they be my master. When it comes down to the birth certificate and that all caps name, that's a property. Property cannot communicate back. Heirs can. People can. Life can. When I tell people my word is my bond, that's because that's my will. You speak your will. When a mother hands that statement of live birth over, that's her will in action. She's already written the words down and she's handed it over as her will. She doesn't understand that. Most people, 99.99% of the people do not understand that. Understand, everything you do is your will. Every act you take is your will. You go into these courts and address these charges. That's your will. You're telling them that. Don't go into their courts. Write it down on a sheet of paper and send it to them. Certified return receipt. If they want to put a warrant out for your arrest, they have to come to you. And that again is your prima facie evidence of another violation of your rights. And granted, people have this thing up here filled with fear and beliefs. And it's not until enough of us stand up and start taking action, start forcing our will, enforcing our will by not complying. It's the only way we're going to win this shit, people. Education. Fill all these spaces up with all the space that's filled up here with fear and belief. Get rid of that and fill it with knowledge. Please. The birth certificate is where it stems from. They're taking your will and making it their bond. Please. please do not give up your will. That's all I got. Hope you understand. Love y'all. Bless you, and have a great day.